What a grisly way to die. Despite all Edison's attempts to discredit my inventions and tarnish my reputation, my alternating current became more and more widespread. Westinghouse and I were gaining ground in this war of the currents. But the sweeping success of AC played a cruel joke on my benefactor and supporter Westinghouse. One day his investors remembered about the agreement I had made with Westinghouse. He was obligated to pay me $1 for each horsepower generated by alternating current. By that time, there were so many AC generators, I would have received $12 million and been one of the richest men in the world. But the man who believed in me and in my alternating current would go bankrupt. So I tore up my contract with him. Westinghouse had to continue his fight for alternating current. That crazy Edison wouldn't leave us alone. He wanted to prove that our AC was worse than his DC so much that he filmed animals being brutally killed with alternating current and then showed these movies to the public.
Yes, I remember in 1903, that poor elephant, Topsy. He electrocuted her to death.
The soup is cold, and Edison lost anyway. In the end, you know what he did? He started producing his own AC power generators. And there have been no direct current stations built in 20 years. So, I won. $320 milliliters. Plus or minus 15. Average the two by
what are you doing?
circumference. Well, it's a strange thing. But I can't really enjoy my meal if I don't know the exact amount of food which I'm going to eat. As for Edison, I have never seen him again. Never. Even after he burned my laboratory.
You mean the fire on Fifth Avenue? Many speculated it could have been sabotage. Even at that time, people were asking which of your employees were bribed by Edison.
Do you know how it came to this? For 7 years, I worked in my laboratory studying magnetic fields and high-frequency currents. It was a productive period for me. As a result of my work, I received many patents, almost as many as Edison. As a result, the American Institute of Electrical Engineers invited me to lecture about my achievements in front of the most prominent electrical engineers of that time. I lit lamps simply by putting them in an alternating electromagnetic field. I showed how to transmit electricity without wires. I sent out lightning and used my hands to pass a current of 1,000,000 volts through my body. It was a huge success. I received a great ovation, and for the first time was called by my peers a man of the future. They offered me Faraday's chair, saying that since his death, no one else had been worthy to sit in it. Then they let me sip the whiskey from Faraday's cherished bottle. It was a great honor. Edison, of course, could not stand them recognizing me. On the 13th of March, 1895, there was a fire in my laboratory on South Fifth Avenue. All of my property was burned, as well as all the records for the last 10 years. As a result of the fire, I went completely bankrupt. Of course, Edison was not so stupid as to leave any evidence that he was behind the fire. But who else could have benefited from this? Within half a year, my business began to thrive again. Instead of starting from the beginning to rebuild what I had created, I restored everything from memory. Thanks to me, Westinghouse triumphed over Edison, winning a huge contract for the construction of a hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls. The newly formed company of Niagara Falls invested $100,000 in my research. With this money, I set up a great laboratory at 46 Houston Street, where I constructed a unique mechanical oscillator, which I used to do research on selective resonance. I could destroy the Brooklyn Bridge in a couple of minutes. That's what selective resonance means. It's possible to destroy any object you choose with a stationary uniform vibration. The whole block of buildings was almost demolished.
I've read about an earthquake that occurred in New York in 1898. You're saying that you did it?
Or perhaps it was just a coincidence. Oh, what a wonderful place it was, my laboratory at 46 Houston Street. Time flew very fast there. I envy the pigeons. They do not need to play stupid human games. They just spread their wings and fly away whenever they want. Without any regret. I don't like people.
But I heard rumors about the elaborate parties which you used to organize.
Yes, I threw... I threw great feasts, which were attended by the most interesting people of the time. Brilliant, famous people. Kipling would read his poems to us. Mark Twain would make everyone laugh with his famous stories. Dvorak played piano. And then I would take them all to my laboratory. I showed various interesting experiments, and we talked about the future of science. Those evenings were unforgettable. I met most of these people thanks to my friendship with Robert Johnson, the chief editor of Century magazine, and his wife, Catherine. Catherine and I became great friends because we shared a great love of poetry. I never met a woman with such exquisite literary taste. Together, she and I even translated and published a collection of Serbian poetry. But the poetry we were most impressed by were the poems of Jovan Zmaj. Honor can't be bought with gold, for an honest man can't be sold, since he needs it like the sun. The dishonest man would surely sell, but everyone knows quite well. As for honor, he has none. Yes, Robert was a dear friend of mine. And as for Catherine, oh, I loved her as much as a man can love a woman. And she loved me, but she was my good friend's wife.
I've heard that once you saved Robert Johnson's life by persuading him to cancel a train trip. The train...